With the global pandemic and supply shortages on bikes, it's been a little bit difficult to get the exact bike that I wanted, but that's okay. It doesn't require the exact bike to get some training, enjoy some sunshine, and get some exercise. The new bike for overbiked randonneuring is the Merida Silex 400. Let's talk about it. With its really upright seating position, every New Balance wearing dad with a hybrid rotting away in the garage might be drooling over the Silex 400. But is it just another hybrid replacement for 2021? Or would this make the perfect bike for an endurance cyclist who has a little bit of gravel in their future? The first assessment to determine is this a hybrid or a wonderful endurance bike is to take a look at the geometry. The first thing you might notice about the Silex is its massive head tube. This gives a really upright seating position, and that's a benefit for an endurance cyclist. But is it so upright that it goes more into hybrid territory? Well, set up for myself in an endurance position, I've had to slam the stem all the way, and I'd still appreciate being able to go down another centimeter or so. So in that sense, it leans a little bit too far into hybrid territory. Next, let's take a look at the front end of the bike. Of note is the 71-degree head tube angle. This gives a very stable steering feel and makes it really pleasant on the rough descents. To counteract some of that stability or laziness in the steering, they've shortened the stem down to 80 millimeters across all sizes. This works together with the 71-degree head tube angle to balance out the steering and make it somewhat neutral, even though there's still a bit of flop on slow ascents. Now, this is almost exactly what you would find on a hybrid from a few years ago. This leans into mountain bike geometry a little bit, where they want to lengthen the distance from the bottom bracket to the front hub to give more stability on descents. The cost of that, though, is, of course, laziness in the steering, and the short stem seeks to counteract that. Now, on this bike, the handlebars that come equipped are 42 centimeters at the top and about 47 centimeters wide at the bottom. There's only a 12-degree flare out on the drops, which is not too extreme considering what a lot of gravel bikes are doing these days. So the front end overall is not an extreme gnarly gravel bike front end. It's going to have some liveliness to the steering, not be a complete dud when you're cruising around on tarmac, but still offers a little bit of extra stability on the descents. So when you put all of that together, you have a 71-degree head tube angle, an 80 millimeter stem, and handlebars that are a little bit wide, but not extremely wide like you would find on more gnarly versions of a similarly styled bike. That's another point for the Merida Silex being just a modern hybrid. Next, let's take a look at the gearing. Is it suitable for an endurance rider, or would it be better for a hybrid rider? Here we have the GRX 400 group set. It has a 4630 crankset on the front, one of the lower gearing options available, and an 11 to 36 cassette on the back. 36 is exclusive to the 10-speed GRX group set. If you go to 11 speed, 34 is the lowest gear you can get in the back. So who is this for? And my answer to that would be basically everyone who's not racing. The gearing that racers use, even with a compact road set, are often too high for what an actual person would ever be able to use. Even with this in its highest gear, 4611, you can get up to 55, 60 kilometers an hour before you spin out. It's not that you're ever lacking on the top end. But with the conditions that a lot of us face, where we have luggage that we need to carry, maybe a trailer we're pulling, we're overweight, or we're climbing a steep hill, or in the endurance rider's case, that we just have to go for a long time, the extra low gearing is more than suitable for almost everyone. So unless you're actually racing in a peloton, I would recommend that the GRX group set with 4630 and 11 to 32 or 34 or 36 in the back would be absolutely perfect for almost everybody. 1 point for the hybrid, 1 point for the endurance cyclist. Next, let's take a look at the wheels and tires. Are these better for a hybrid rider, or are they good for an endurance or gravel-oriented rider? Taking a look, these are 17 millimeter inner rim width aluminum wheels with 32 spokes on the front and rear. To me, this screams a wheel that should be put on a hybrid bike or a touring bike from 8 or 9 years ago. These are not particularly suitable gravel wheels with such a narrow inner rim width. With the width of tires that gravel riders prefer, they need a wider rim than this. Similarly, even a lot of road wheels these days have wider inner rim widths than the ones that come equipped on the Silex. For that reason, anyone with performance-orientated riding is not going to enjoy these wheels. They weigh over 2 kilograms, they're way too narrow, and they have tons of spokes. They're really suitable for touring or hybrid-style riding just around town. The tires are a pleasant surprise. They're some of the higher-end Maxxis gravel-style tire. They're reasonably light, they're tubeless ready, and they have only a mild tread. The tread doesn't interfere with turning on pavement, so it makes it pretty suitable light gravel with a good mix of tarmac style riding. So overall, these wheels and tires are most suitable for a hybrid rider. The wheels are just too bad. The tires are a good mix for light gravel and hybrid riding. So overall, we have to give 1 more point to the hybrid category. Next, let's take a look at the frame features to see if it's more suitable for an endurance gravel style rider or a hybrid commuter. It's looking promising down here at the rear dropout. We have a mount for a rear rack, as well as, I believe one of these at least is a place to mount a fender or mudguard. Moving up towards the seat post clamp, we see the bridge for the mudguard, but notably missing is any place to mount a rack. This is a nod to the gravel rider who's probably going to be using a massive seat post bag instead of a rear rack. We have 2 standard water bottle mounts down here, nothing particularly special. There's no bento box mount at the top. We have the backwards hat stem cap. I think that's more of an issue with a product manager and trying to cut costs on specially shaped spacers than anything else. Moving down to the down tube, we have a 3rd water bottle cage mount. These bosses would not be terribly suitable for a hybrid commuter rider. You don't need to drink 3 bottles of water on your 2-hour bike path ride. Moving up to the front, we have adventure nipples on the fork. Again, these will be most suitable to a slow gravel rider. An endurance style road rider would not be using these because they are incredibly unaerodynamic. Similarly, on the front, there is no place for a front rack. The anything cages or bottle mounts on the side of the fork is the storage solution for the front end. At the crown of the fork here, we can only see a little bolt hole suitable for a mudguard. And looking closely, there's still plenty of room with 38C tires, but having a mudguard on the front, probably not something many people will be doing with this bike. So, looking at the feature set, it's much more suitable to a gravel-oriented endurance rider than it is to a commuter. So finally, another point, and only for the endurance gravel rider. Another element to look at on the Silex 400 is the hydraulic disc brakes that it comes with. These are GRX 400 level hydraulic disc brakes, and it's the cheapest way for a drop bar bike to get hydraulic disc brakes. between this and Tiagra, which are basically the same thing. And that, I think, is what makes this bike so popular. According to Merida's website, the Silex 400 is their most popular gravel bike, and I would guess it could be one of their best-selling bikes outside of their cheaper hybrids. And part of that is because it's just the cheapest way to get access to hydraulic disc brakes, which are a really high-demand item these days. Some people might argue whether that's necessary or not, but I would say that the good stopping power in the rain is suitable for endurance road cyclists and for hybrid riders commuting to work. The extra power and control and modulation you get from hydraulic disc brakes is just really nice, and it doesn't wear your hands down in the same way that a cable actuated brake would. So for these, again, 1 point to the commuter and 1 point to the endurance gravel style cyclist. So, how do we assess the Merida Silex 400? Is it the spiritual successor to hybrids, or is it an endurance bike with some gravel aspirations? And to that, I would say it's both. It's very upright and relaxed, just like a hybrid, and the steering is stable using some of the same techniques that hybrids used to gain that same stability. For an endurance rider, it's got drop handlebars with lots of aerodynamic positions. You're able to get a good endurance position on this bike, even though a little bit lower of a head tube might be appreciated. The gearing is fabulous for just about everyone, and the tire clearance allows for almost any tire you would want to fit. The bottom bracket is low enough to provide stability, but it's high enough that you can still fit narrower tires without risking pedal strike. And with the dropped top tube, it allows for the seat tube to poke out a little bit, or the seat post to poke out enough to get some deflection, even though the 30.9 mil seat post is not going to be flexing very much. So overall, the Silex 400 is just a good bike. It's not going to specialize in anything, it's not the most capable gravel bike, and it's not going to be the fastest endurance bike. But it does find a good balance between these things while also providing the usability and day-to-day livability that you would want in a hybrid. So to that end, should you buy the Merida Silex 400? And the answer is maybe. If you need one bike to do everything and you want to be an endurance road rider and touch on some light gravel, then it's a great choice, an excellent value, and it's well made. If you want to specialize in one field, you probably want a more gnarly gravel bike, and you probably want a faster and lighter endurance bike. But that's all on the Silex 400. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and we'll see you in the next one.